All right, Sam Sargeant, very welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Now, straight away out of the gate, we've started off with I was saying to you before we pressed record, do you prefer to be called Sam or Sarge? Because when we came in, you introduced yourself straight away. I said, I'm Tony, and you said, Sarge.
Yeah.
So, and you had a little bit of no one calls you Sam, basically.
Yeah, for my entire career, I find it very weird if people call me Sam.
Right.
There was actually a situation at Leyton Orient where a player had been with us for probably 6 or 7 months, and he come up to me one day and went, I actually don't know what your first name is, just because everyone calls me Sarge. So I had to clarify my first name, someone I knew for 6-7 months. But it's always stuck. Very few people call me Sam outside of football. But yeah,
I was going to say, is it just a football thing, or is it in your everyday life as well?
It's kind of moved on to some of my close friends will also call me Sarge.
Mm-hmm.
The only person really who doesn't call me Sarge is my best mate, which is a bit of a weird one.
Right.
But yeah, he calls me Sam. Everyone else calls me Sarge. Obviously, parents call me.
I was going to say your parents, but that's
it hasn't gone that far yet.
Yeah. No, anyone of my mates who have nicknames since they're a kid, in fairness, I don't think their parents even call them, but that would be a little bit weird.
That might change. I might get them to start calling me Sarge.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So listen, look, we're delighted to have you on the podcast. When we originally kind of came up with this idea, you're one of the players on my list of the side of things. So I'm delighted to have you here. I'd like to just get going straight away with your early life, your upbringing. You were born in London. Mm-hmm. Am I right saying Greenwich?
Yep.
Okay. So do you follow a London team? Is that your kind of starting point in football?
Yeah, so football's been a big part of my life from a very early age. I was always kicking a football around. And my mum's side of the family, my nan, mum's mum, was based in Kidbrooke, Blackheath sort of way, which is right near Charlton. So the family were Charlton Athletic fans. I was a season ticket holder there for many years, from the Premiership down to League One.
Wow.
My uncle was one of them in particular, Charlton mad. So I was kind of taught very early on, that Charlton was the team to support, and I loved going. It became a bit of a routine, but then I think when football started becoming more than just a kickabout in the park for me, I kind of come away from that sort of supporter of Charlton. Obviously, when you go into full-time football, you play on a Saturday, which is when professional teams play. So I didn't have the opportunity to watch them. So for me now, it's a case of, was a Charlton fan, still a Charlton fan. Obviously, it's in the family. Yeah. But I'll always, my main team will always be who I'm playing for. So I'm currently a Blues fan right now. Yeah,
it has to be something. I think it's something that as fans fans that are just fans, don't really understand and probably never will. I think the most famous one that Waterford people will probably resonate with and know is John O'Shea, who famously, won a European Cup at Manchester United, but grew up a Liverpool fan. Mm-hmm. And, I think people even like myself would look at it and go, well, how could you be a Man United fan then? But again, that's something that we'll never understand, I guess.
I mean, for me, my nan was also very big on football. She loved Liverpool and United, the big teams. Obviously, they have the best players, play the, some would say, more attractive football. But yeah, it was just it was a case of just following. It was nice to be kind of involved with a local team.
Yeah.
Obviously, lucky it was a very big club. It's a lovely stadium, and I remember the seats that we had for all them years. As a season ticket holder, we were right at the top of one of the middle stands, and we had a great view. And I've seen some great games there, great goals.
I was going to say, it must be incredible. Again, so listen, we all love the League of Ireland, and it's great, and we get to see some top League of Ireland teams here locally, just across the road. But to grow up in London, when Charlton were in the Premier League as well, and to have that on your doorstep, all the way through even Championship League One, and to be able to go and see it pretty much a weekend, especially being from London, where an away day might just be across town.
Yeah.
It must be an amazing kind of a thing to grow up with.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many teams from all levels in London. It's obviously very highly populated, but I mean, I didn't really go to away games with Charlton. It was always the home sort of home games. But you know, I've watched the likes of Thierry Henry live. You know, some massive names. Robin van Persie, the volley he scored against us. I was there. Distinctly remember my cousin, who's older than me. He scored this unbelievable volley, and obviously no Charlton fans celebrated. But my cousin just stood up and started clapping, and me kind of looking up to him as the older family member. I just remember standing up with him and kind of clapping, not really knowing why I was clapping, but a lot of good memories. And it's funny you say, obviously lucky enough to watch the Premiership teams at the Valley, but I think probably my most favourite memories were when we were in League One.
Right.
I remember we got promoted that year, and it was you know, I wasn't old enough or in football enough to know some of the teams that we were playing. Obviously I know now, having been around them leagues, but you know, teams like Burton, you know, the new teams that are coming to the Valley that you haven't seen or maybe heard much of before, and we had a really good season and got promoted, and a lot of good memories at that place. So I'm very grateful that I was able to kind of grow up and be surrounded with that, and I think that kind of helped fuel my passion for football.
I can see that football is definitely part of the culture there. Like, just even for myself personally, like if we go cross channel, it's usually to see a Premier League team. I've been going myself to Liverpool since I was a kid with my dad and stuff, but recently we were in London for the cup final back in February, and we have relatives, we have a lot of cousins and stuff that are from Watford, Bushy in Watford, and myself and my dad went to see Watford and Huddersfield, and it was championship game obviously, and at the time I think Watford were 7th and Huddersfield were down the bottom. Huddersfield ended up beating them, but like to see that's just kind of, that's your Saturday. That's the routine and families, and it felt like a real family club. It felt like a real family day out. Ingrained in the culture.
And the thing is with, you know, leagues below the lower leagues, you know, you do feel more part of the club. You know, and I'm guessing we'll probably talk about it to do with Waterford,
of course,
you know, here. But it's really nice, you know, being a fan of a team where you feel like you're not just a fan, you're more involved in the sort of community, and it's a really nice feeling, and I really get that vibe here. It's, you know, like I said, I'm guessing we'll talk about it at some point. But
we will. Let's talk about your own career first. And, you know, we obviously mentioned growing up in London and stuff like that, and following Charlton. When does it become clear? You mentioned you were always kicking a football, but when did it become catching a football? When did goalkeeping kind of come into it?
I've actually got a funny story about that. So I started Sunday League at around 6 or 7. It was kind of a system where you have a group of lads as a team, and you'd play 2 games on a Sunday. So you play against one team. It would be like a 3-way kind of mix-up. So you play everyone once. And I didn't want to go and goal. No, I don't think many young lads want to go and goal. You know, they want to be the one to score. I remember I played my first game at left back, funnily enough. And we played this game and we won 1-0, and I got the assist for the goal. We come in before the second game, and I played for a team called Villa Court Rovers. There were 3 brothers, Stuart, Andy and Joe, who were like the managers, you know, organisers, etc. And we had a woman who was part of that kind of group called Jenny, and I was only 6 or 7, but I always kind of had this weird sort of attraction to this Jenny, right? I always just like, thought she was a very attractive woman.
Okay.
And no one wanted to go and goal for the second game, and she went, someone needs to go and goal, it'll really help us out. And I thought, I'm going to be the hero here. I'm going to impress her. I'm going to go and goal. And I went in goal. We lost the game 5-0.
Okay.
I stayed in goal ever since.
So we can thank Jenny.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny, if you're listening to this. But yeah, that's the story of how I went in goal, and I didn't come out at all. Got picked up by Millwall at the age of 7.
Wow.
I got scouted at a game. We lost against top of the league. Their striker was Tammy Abraham, who's currently at Roma. Yeah, I remember crying that game. He kicked a ball very hard in my face. He was quite a big lad back then.
Right.
And the scout come up to my parents after the game. He was like, you know, he's a really, really brave boy. We really like what he's about. We'd like him to come in. I didn't want to go. Wanted to carry on playing with my mates. I think this is something that quite a lot of young lads would kind of go through. I remember I just did not want to leave the team. I was really enjoying it. My mum and dad were like, just give it a go. Like, you know, see where it goes. And I went there and was at Millwall for 9 years. Very long time. Got to my scholarship decision, which is when you go in England, you have a scholarship from 16 to 18. So it's like a full-time youth team contract.
Okay.
And they didn't offer me one. So that was kind of my first setback that I had in my career, in my early stages of my career. I went to a few clubs on trial and then ended up at Leyton Orient. And yeah, was there from 16 and there for 9 years, and you know, you become very associated with a club that you're there for that sort of period of time. I've seen and met loads of different people, and then obviously the situation with Orient at the end of my time there was a real disappointing one for me. I feel like it could have been done in a much better way. It kind of left me in a very vulnerable position.
Okay.
Which was hard to take because I've been there so long. Just, you know, would have been nice to leave on. You know, people in football come and go all the time. That's just part of the business. But yeah, I was really disappointed with how that kind of turned out. And then I was in a very, very kind of stressful, worrying place, especially as a goalkeeper when you're out of contract. It was the first time I'd ever been in that situation in the professional game. And,
right.
And obviously, football teams, you know, they might have 5 or 6 strikers who they rotate, or you know, might have a few centre backs. They don't really need loads. When they have their goalkeepers that they're set, they're not going to look to sign anymore. So Waterford came up, and I know a lot about the club because one of my good friends in football, Lawrence Vigouroux, was here, who I'm sure a lot of the fans know, and he spoke so highly of the place. As soon as I heard the name, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah.
So when you heard that Waterford were coming in for you, did it trigger you? Oh, Lawrence was there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's the first thing that kind of pops into my head. Oh wait, yeah, Loz was there, and he spoke extremely highly of it.
Yeah, he was here through a really great period for the club as well, and geez, he was wonderful for us as well. And what exactly was it? A phone call? Did you call him? Were you still seeing him training, or were you gone at this stage
with Lawrence?
With Lawrence, yeah.
No, so I got the message from one of my old goalie coaches saying, "Would you be interested in Waterford?" I didn't speak to Loz direct. Loz wasn't involved in kind of arranging this. I think someone at the club might have been in contact with one of my old goalie coaches, and then obviously it moves from that to discussions with agents. And
sure, but when you hear Waterford and you kind of put 2 and 2 together that Lawrence was here playing, did you give him a buzz or?
Oh yeah. Oh, but he spoke. I didn't even feel like I did speak to him about it, but he'd spoke about Waterford so much. Right. Me and him are very, very close. That's great. We had a really good working relationship, and he'd tell me stories about when he was here, and you know, teams that they played and good results and stuff. So I did generally feel like I knew quite a lot about this place. And yeah, when I mentioned it to him, he was like, "Mate, what a club! You know, you'd love it there."
That's amazing.
And you know, he was right. I love it here.
Beautiful. But before we get fully here, just talk. I know you mentioned that maybe there's a little bit of a sour taste with Leyton Orient, but it would be kind of remiss of me, I think, to not talk about it. You were there for 9 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's a long time in any line of work, let alone football. Was there ever, like, it didn't end great as you said, but was there throughout the rest of the 9 years, did it feel like your home club at the time? Did it? Because I know you were out on loan quite a bit as well.
Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want it to come across like it was, you know, sour. I just felt disappointed. I feel like they could have been more honest and kind of gone about it a better way. I was in a situation where I thought something was going to happen with the club in terms of continuing my stay there, and I turned down other options.
Okay.
To then find out that wasn't actually the case. So the reason it kind of really disappointed me, like I said, people come and go in football. That's natural. And, I was in a position at Orient where I wasn't playing. I hadn't played anywhere near enough what I would have liked, what the club probably would have liked. But the fact that I was allowed to turn down opportunities which could have left me could have left me clubless.
Right. Did they know that you were getting these opportunities?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Okay. But I have nothing against Leyton Orient as a club. Like I said, was there for 9 years. Some unbelievable memories there. I feel like at Leyton Orient I experienced everything a football player could experience, and whether that be the highest of highs, very lucky enough to be a part of 2 promotions there, 2 incredible years, with some great people that I'm still in contact with now, or the heartbreaking lows of losing Justin Edinburgh, who led us to that promotion. Losing him in that summer was so hard to take, and the club nearly going into liquidation or administration, and then being brought back alive, and then new owners taking over. So yeah, the 9 years were a whirlwind, and I'm very grateful, and I'm a true believer in everything happens for a reason.
Of course.
I believe that there was a reason why the things panned out. If I was maybe told earlier that I weren't gonna be an Orient player, then I might have signed somewhere else where I wouldn't have been able to show what I can do or play the amount that I've played. So I do believe that we're all on a path, and everything happens for a reason. So I'm not sour. It's just I'm where I'm meant to be.
Yeah,
right
of
now.
course, for sure. I'm a firm believer in that as well. You also played. You also got to an FA Trophy final with Leyton Orient, didn't you?
Yeah. So that was the season where we became champions in the National League. So that was the first promotion I was lucky enough to be a part of, and yeah, great season, great group of lads. Again, led by a great coaching team and Justin Edinburgh, who's a massive part of Orient's history. God rest his soul. And got to the FA Trophy final at Wembley.
Yeah.
Very disappointing day in terms of we couldn't do the double. We lost 1-0 to Fylde.
Right.
But it was kind of it wasn't as disappointing as what it would have been if we didn't become champions.
Exactly.
That was the main goal. That would have just been an added bonus. So we managed to get the club back up to EFL, which is obviously where the club deserves to be.
And what's the experience like, just even arriving at Wembley to play the game?
Honestly, I can't tell you that. When you walk out to do the warm up, it's like you look up and you continue to look up, and it's just non-stop. We didn't have, obviously the stadium wasn't fully packed out. There was a big crowd though. From what I remember, it was I'm sure it was in it must have been over 20,000 there.
Yeah.
It's a big crowd. But just Wembley in itself is what a stadium, and it kind of takes you back a little bit when you're walking out for the warm up, about to do your goalie stuff, and you kind of have to take a minute to think, right, I'm in Wembley. I'm on Wembley's pitch. So that was a nice experience in itself. I can say I've been at Wembley.
Incredible. So we were lucky enough that you arrived here after Leyton Orient, and obviously, listen, you spoke to Lawrence Figaro. He gave us a glowing review, which is brilliant to hear, because I know he's held in a lot of supporters' hearts still very highly. What were your first impressions when you came, not just to Waterford FC, but just even to the city, into Waterford City?
Yeah, I love it here. I think it's I come from London, where it's a bit very full on, and there's things going on everywhere. You go into central London and it's like carnage. It's
crazy
at times. I really like how it just feels really relaxed here and really like chilled out. I don't have a bad word to say about Waterford in as a place. I've obviously been here for coming up to a year now, and I've loved my time here.
And like arriving at the club, you came during the summer window of last year. What were your first impressions of the club? Because I'm not sure what it's like coming from the English setup, coming to Ireland, but we certainly have one of, if not the best facilities in the country here with Carriganore, the SETU arena and stuff for training.
Yeah.
Was that something that you were kind of a little bit even taken back by?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it's by far the best facilities I've been involved with or involved in. I wasn't sure what to expect coming here in terms of facilities and what it would be like. Again, Loz spoke very highly of the Irish League, which I can see why. I think the standard in the league is very high. But yeah, like you said, the facilities are, probably the best in the country. We've got the RSC, which is obviously our home ground. We've got pitches behind there. The SETU arena is fantastic. Training pitches, nice pitches. Good gyms, good food. It's, you can't really, and it's not the be all and end all to have these facilities, but it is
but
nice.
nice to have them.
Yeah, it is,
nice
and it does. At times, it can give you that extra kind of 1 or 2% on the training pitch, or when you're fueling up right with the right food, or you're going to work on the training pitch on nice pitches, that replicate what you're going to play on a Friday night. It does. It's beneficial, but yeah, very impressed. I was very impressed with the facilities.
You mentioned, of course, getting 2 promotions with Leyton Orient. We had our own promotion last year, which was, huge. I think we're all still on a high from that, even though we're halfway through the Premier League season. You came in midway through the season, and at that point, Galway were already running away with the league. I think we'd all kind of accepted that they were going to win it at that point. Within the camp, when you arrived in, was there always the belief that this was going to happen? Or I know obviously it was the aim, but was there ever a point where it was like, we're going to try, but, or was it always just laser focused?
I'll be honest. When we went through a couple of spells when I come here last season, I remember we picked up quite a poor result against Cove here. We lost 2-0, and it wasn't a good performance. And it was coming to that sort of playoff, and I think we had a couple of games left, maybe 2 or 3 left. And I remember we had a chat as players because we knew that our standards are higher, and we should be doing better as a group. And I don't think there was ever any like kind of worry about not achieving it. I think just having that chat as a group kind of gave us that extra fire in our belly sort of thing. And I think in football, we don't need motivation. It's our job. If you need motivation in football, then you're in the wrong sport, in my opinion. I think, but you can get extra sort of fire in your belly. That's what I call it. Whether that be, to kind of deal with setbacks that you've had before. I know that's something that I use. Kind of like proving to people that I can do, what maybe people didn't think I could do, or just to kind of prove to yourself and to the group that, or to even to the fans, like we are good enough to the rest of the country. People look at the Irish League and Waterford's a club that deserves to be in the Premiership, and I think that was a bit of a added pressure as well. That we're not a first division side, and that's no disrespect to that league, but it's a big club in Ireland. And we had this chat, and I think after that chat, we kind of become more of a team than what we were. And I mean, we did extremely well in the playoffs. Athlone over 2 legs. The Cove game was a special one as well. And then obviously, the one at Tallow was. I mean, people might think I'm weird. I've told a few people this, but I must have watched the highlights to that game 30 or 40 times since that actual day.
It was a special night.
Because in football as well, again, I'm just speaking for myself here, but you live for them moments, and each season you get a new opportunity to create them moments again. And me watching the highlights back is just me reliving that moment, thinking, yeah, I want that again, because they're the best nights of your life. You know, the final whistle goes, and you know, I speak about motivation. Motivation for me is, you know, when the final whistle goes and I look up and I see my mum in tears in the stand, knowing that she couldn't actually physically enjoy that game because she was such a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Or seeing my dad, who has done, you know, countless training sessions with me from the age of 6, 7 to the present day, knowing that he's looking at me thinking, yeah, that hard work that we did paid off.
And did your mum and dad come over for that game?
And my uncle, who's the Charlton Mad fan, you know, him being there and being able to experience it, and he's always been so supportive. He messages me after every game, so just to see them, you know, them three there and looking up at them, it's like, yeah, that was kind of for you. That's my sort of motivation to do well for the people, like mum, dad, uncle, friends. So.
And you've sat down a couple of times and rewatched the highlights.
Oh, too many times.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's just to relive that moment. But you know, like I said, each season you get the opportunity to create more memories like that, and you know, this season's not done yet, but we're doing okay.
Yeah, and that brings me to this season. Like, the one thing I really get, and I picked up on it even there when you said like that all the players got together and had a chat after that Cove result, and kind of, you know, had a kind of a just basically I suppose a meeting together and said, right lads, let's get the finger out. The thing that really stands out to me with any of these that I've done, or anytime we're over in the hospitality lounge and one of the lads comes before the game, or even presenting the Man of the Match award after the game, there's always seems to be the common denominator always is that there's a huge togetherness in this squad. And I keep bringing it up because I do think it's really important. It really feels like this is a team.
Yeah, for me, the togetherness part of any team is more important than the football inside. Again, going back to the two promotions I had with Leyton Orient, the togetherness in both them teams is something that is so hard to find, where everyone's on board with the same goal. You know, people are putting their bodies on the line for each other. You know, not just to win the game, but just because, you know, they're mates. Like, you know, and it becomes that sort of vibe, and it's such an important, but it's such a hard ingredient to get. And when you get that right, when you get that gel of togetherness, like, you know, everyone on the same wavelength, it honestly makes such a difference. And we've got that here. We've got, you know, young players. You know, you've got players who have played a handful of games, and then you've got, you know, the likes of Podge, who's been incredible. You know, one of the, if not the best pros I've worked with. Doesn't come across as 36-year-old.
Yeah.
Sorry, Podge, if that's not your age, but
he is.
He doesn't come across like that in the training ground. You know, he's like one of the, you think he's like 20, 25, 26, has a joke with everyone. You know, he's bubbly and it's, you know, things like that are just important. But I could say that about any of the lads. You know, I'm just using Podge as an example. Everyone's on the same wavelength, and you know, it's not a bad egg in the changing room. And we're a young group. We're going to have bumps in the road. You know, we're not going to win every week, but you know, win, lose or draw, we're all on the same page, and we'll fight to achieve something.
And listen, we're just over the halfway point of this season now. You know, as we record this, we're away to Drogheda, and then, you know, previous fixture was another one of them nights up in Galway. I don't know if I'll even get into that, but what do you think it is about going away to Galway?
They're very good at what they do. They make the game very hard. I don't feel like the goal we conceded could have been preventable, definitely. But they're just a very hard to. When they go 1-0 up, I mean, they've had a lot of 1-0 wins.
Yeah, oh yeah,
this
absolutely,
season. They're very well drilled in that aspect. You know, they'll get a goal ahead, and they're very. Credit to them, they're very hard to break.
I'll phrase it this way from a supporter's point of view, and it's like, because there's always these stats rolled out, and I think I didn't look this up because I wasn't intending on talking about it, but it's came up now. something like Waterford haven't won away to Galway since 2007 or something ridiculous like that. Now you can imagine how many different Waterford teams there's been since 2007. Yeah. But does that come into the team? Does that come into your mind? Do you know, oh, we haven't won here since 2007, and all of a sudden that becomes a thing?
No, I don't think. No, it's not. We wouldn't think like that.
Yeah.
It's we've. My experience of Galway is they're a very tough side. They play the game well, the dark arts sort of side, and that's no disrespect to them. It's credit where credit's due. They're very good at it, best in the league at it. And whether it's a case of giving them too much respect at times, or just it's a hard one to put your finger on because you could have said the same about Shamrock Rovers, and. We've obviously had an incredible result at Tala this season.
Well, let's go there then, because I was going to go there after mentioning Galway. I was going to go to the highs, and like you mentioned, amazing nights, and obviously, listen, the promotion up in Rovers, in the stadium back in November was just, but to beat Shamrock Rovers so convincingly only a couple of months ago now. I was there that evening. That was up there.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, and I don't think anyone would have expected to go there and win 3-1. And they had their chances. Rode our luck at times, but you need that sort of luck in football. It's the sign of it. You make your own luck, I believe, as well. The harder you work, you get the rub of the green a little bit. But yeah, that was a great result, and I think that was. One of the early games in the kind of run we had where we strung a few really good wins together. And obviously we've put ourselves in a nice position after them. Gaffer was very big on us, picking up 3 points, and instead of, not settling for one, but he was like, draws are good results, but let's not get carried away with them because they can be deceiving at times. Let's look, we're good enough to beat any team in the league. And that night kind of showed that everyone was on good form, and the 3-1 win at Tala is, not many teams can say that they've done that.
Yeah.
And it's again, sorry, it's just going back to the sort of, that fire in your belly thing. Whether you wanted to see it or not before the start of the season, you see stuff like predictions of like the league and stuff and how things were gonna go. And it's what I mean about the fire in the belly. Like I saw 95% of people can't say that Waterford would finish 10th, straight back down. And again, I'm only speaking on behalf of myself here, but to look at that and you say to yourself like, no, we're gonna prove people wrong, and it's nice to kind of, because I feel like we've proven multiple people wrong this season, and there's still more to come from us, but. Yeah,
and we'll start winding down now, but that's something I wanted to bring up as well, because I met one of the lads after the St. Pat's game at home a few weeks ago. I'm not going to say who it was, but he was very, very excited about the win, as we all were that night. But I said to him, do you think we should start getting our passports in date? And he turned around and he goes, I'll quote it without the language for the the censors, but basically said, well, we're going to be effing safe there anyway, aren't we? So that obviously must have been something that must have stuck in the squad's craw a little bit, that there were so many predictions of that.
Yeah, it's something that's not really been. I've spoken about it with a couple of people, but the main goal this season, I think, for everyone was to cement our position in the league. That's the most important thing, and anything else is a bonus. But what I think we're doing really well this season is we're not getting carried away. Obviously, it's nice to look at the table and see that the position we are, but there's still a lot of games to be played, and I think as a group we're taking each game as it comes. Like I said, there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be results that we're not happy with, and there's going to be more wins that we get that the fans can celebrate. But each game as it comes, and I'm sure if we keep applying ourselves how we have been, working hard on the training pitch, we've got unbelievable staff here, great manager, and if we keep to that, taking game by game, and you know, who knows what can happen, but we could be in for another successful season.
Well, look, I know we all look forward to it. Sarge, thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you very much. Cheers
See
for having me.
you on the pitch.
Yeah.